Okay, let's talk about the Euwe position, this time with the microphone on. Defender's on the move here. And the defender doesn't have a lot of options. The king is obstructing the rook on the horizontal. It can go only one square to the left, otherwise it gets lost to a skewer, and it doesn't have much room to go. It can go down, but only to the bottom of the board here on D1 or D2. D2 would be bad because it goes to an immediate fork. So we don't have a lot of options if we're the defender here. In fact, pretty much the only option is to just send the rook over there. When you enter a force sequence, you give check, king defends the rook, you give check, walks forward, and the position has shifted one file to the left. When, naturally enough, we repeat the same sequence, walking all the way across the board. And finally, at this point, the defender is just plain out of options. The rook has to go to the fatal corner where it's going to go lost to a fork check soon, no matter what the defender does. Check from the bottom of the board, and then you catch it there. So if we go back here, he can go to the bottom of the board here, but he's still in the fatal corner. Just remember to go here, go down, and come back up one, and you've got the fork. If we move a little further away and have the defender go to the bottom of the board, you handle it like any other distant defense. Check from the diagonal. Next to the diagonal the rook is standing on. That gives you access to two forking squares, and it really limits the defender's options. In fact, he pretty much has to go there, stay on that diagonal, give check again. And now checking from back here, you've taken control of the rook's checking square, which will allow your king to approach. And that's pretty much the ball game. There's nothing the defender can do. What a computer will do here is simply walk out and let you take the fork. Remember to take the fork. So that's the basic Euwe position. Now if we move to the next example, let's say that the attacker's on the move. You don't actually have to do any shenanigans to transfer the move to the defender here. Instead, just put the queen on the other side, and you get a lot of the same benefits. Once again, the rook has just no mobility horizontally. He can go to the bottom of the board, but then you hunt him down just like in any other distant defense. So we check, checking from the neighboring diagonal and controlling the rook's checking square. Walk forward. And when he goes there, the other option, of course, is if he goes there, simply walk across into a javelin position, and you will have known how to handle those. Oftentimes, javelins are the best way to win. So be sure to study those. Otherwise, he can go here and try to hide in your shadow, but that's not very effective. Because at this point, we've taken all the checking squares for C7, and that's just about the world's shortest harassment defense. He doesn't dare give check to the king, or the king will walk to C7 in perfect immunity, and there will be just terrible mate threats. In fact, that's about the only safe place for the rook to go. And if you've been following these lessons, the long diagonal is crying out for a queen to settle on it. And when you go here, you've got the king on the outside of the diagonal. He can't go to the C file or there's a fork, so he has to go to the A file. Now he can't go to the B file, there's a fork, unless he does that. Okay, you can walk him down. The next check is A6, and the check after that is on B6, and you pick up the rook. So we go over here. We can also invite the defender to adopt a close defense. by simply giving check here. And when he returns, give check here. Now he can go here, in which case we have a wishbone, and what you do is turn a wishbone into the thorn, and when it's against the corner, you turn it on its side by checking here, there, and there. And that forces the absolute seventh. Of course, if he just falls straight back, he's in a fatal cage. So that leaves this. And when that happens, it's good to know that you have something related to the Euwe position in which you can walk him all the way to the edge of the board. Just take the opposition. He can't come back. The square is still controlled by the queen. And his rook is, if anything, even more vulnerable because it's not going to be on a neighboring file. It's going to be 2 files away from its king. And that means it can't rejoin its king safely in a single move. So it goes over here, give check. Keep following him, and you can walk him all the way to the edge of the board. And once you get him to the edge of the board, just fall back. Remember, the queen likes to be on the long diagonal. And so just transfer the move to him, and you'll find he really doesn't have a good move. Got a forking square there. Hold on to the forking squares. And now we've got a javelin. If he comes back, it's an immediate Philidor. If he doesn't come back, if he runs farther away, use tried and true procedures. Check from the diagonal next to the diagonal that the rook stands on, and I think you'll recognize the sequence of events from the Philidor position. Bingo. If the king falls straight back into the corner, it just saves you 1 move. Because that's mate. So always remember that when the rook goes into this lethal corner, you can usually hunt it down very rapidly by giving checks here and then here. If black plays rook to d1 instead of rook to d2, nothing really changes. Check here. He can come back. If he doesn't come back, well, control the checking square. He's got nothing. Or he could come back now. Check there. Check there. And now, turn it on its side. Once again, you can play it like a distant defense. If he goes to d1 instead of d2, it doesn't matter. Same thing. Give checks from the neighboring diagonals. In this case, we're going to control the checking square. Got plenty of threats on the board. Walk forward. He pretty much has to return to a close defense at this point. That's really not going to work well for him. You're going to walk him right into the corner and into a fork. And of course, remember that that's mate. And if that's the triple threat. Suppose the defender tries to escape to the king side by walking away. Well, see, we've got a nice forking square there. The same distant defense principles apply. Okay, we're holding on to the one forking square, but we're picking up another. That king is getting very restricted. We're holding on to those same forking squares. We got a forking square here, and now we get to walk him right down the line. And there he is. If the position is this far to the left, this is crushing. Always play it. Because now, with the rook in the fatal square, check him right there. And you've got immediate access to the diagonal on which you're going to pick up that rook. Just like so. If instead he fled to b2, give that same check. This is just lethal. He tries to hide on the diagonal of the king. Okay, form the diagonal position. The only thing that doesn't lose quickly is there, and you're going to walk right into a philidor. Sometimes you will get the same structure one rank farther off the edge of the board. Many of the same things apply here. We have this same forcing sequence where this is the shortest or the longest road to mate. We'll take a look at some other things in a minute. And back here, and check, come up here. And now, black has the option of going here, rather than going all the way into the corner. In which case, you have a straightforward option of giving a check here, force that, and take up the opposition. Now he can send his rook down here to one of these squares. But if he does, you just play it like it's an ordinary distant defense. When we're in this position, the defender always has one reasonable option, which is to form what's called the body check position. If you're the defender and you can form the body check, it's almost always a good option. Just like if you're the defender and you can form a rosette, it's almost always a good option. And in this case, in response to the body check, white always has a good option of create the Euwe position again. Only this time we've moved it from the third rank back to the second rank. If we go back here and we try this option here, well, the same thing works. Bring your king here, and if he forms the body check, then you go there. If we take this down to d1, again, notice that the king and the rook are 2 files apart, and that always makes it a little scarier for the defender. Check there. Diagonal next to the diagonal of the rook. Diagonal next to the diagonal of the rook. And now the best thing to do, as in so many other positions, is set up the discovered check. Black's in a lot of trouble. Now you can swing the queen over here and bag the rook fairly easily. And finally, when we're playing this position farther away from the edge of the board, the defender has the option of make the transition into a third rank defense. And we now have a third rank defense in the killing position.